So there's a reason why we love the Premier League. Listen, it's for the excitement, it's for the fun. The Premier League gives you everything football, and for the 10th time in the history of the Premier League, the league title will be decided on the final day, the last game of the season. Arsenal City are battling it out for who takes the crown in the 2023-2024 league season. The last time the league went on to the last day, City pipped Liverpool to the title. Will they be able to pip Arsenal again to the title this season? Nobody knows, because as we speak, there are a lot of swings and ups and downs here and there. City take on Spurs, a very crucial game on Tuesday evening to literally give them one hand on the title, because I think that if City are able to beat Spurs, they'll be able to, walk away with the title. That game may just be the title decider. People are also saying that, hey, whatever happens in that game, it will still depend on the last game of the season, because if it happens that City drop points against Spurs, let's say they lose, City will still end up on 86 points. Arsenal will have 87 points. But if Arsenal lose against Everton, or if they drop points against Everton and City wins against West Ham United, City will still be crowned champion. So it would all boil down to the final game of the season. This is Sports 101, and as usual, I'm here with Kofi Asedu. If you joined us on Facebook, share the link. We are live on Facebook. Share the link with your friends. Tell them that the show that everybody loves to watch on Sundays is live. Kofi.
Yes.
A very good evening.
Yeah, very good evening. I think that you've given a brief synopsis
I'm
about
not even going to talk, because there's no better place for us to start off, from than the league running. But first, let's look at this evening's game. People thought that just maybe, I think that it was just false hope, because we had seen the United team go through a lot of issues with injuries. That you cannot really fault there, unless you don't miss close about 8 key players and your team will be the same. It's literally impossible. Even if you're Real Madrid, even if you're Manchester City, when you miss certain key players, a certain element of your play will be missing. So people were still hoping that so long as they were playing at home, they could give the fans something to cling on to, and maybe in your own, statement, a City United could happen for Manchester City, but it didn't happen. Arsenal did what matters the most. They beat Manchester United by a goal. Let's look at the game. How did you see the game?
Well, I think that the game did not really go to plan. I mean, when I saw the team sheet for the two teams, I felt that if there was ever a time for a mauling by Arsenal on Manchester United, a lot of Arsenal fans have memories about the A2 at Old Trafford and some of the games that have gone in the favor of Manchester United. Indeed, I mean, if you look at Manchester United and the fact that they were playing at Old Trafford, a fixture that's not been too kind to Arsenal, and then you look at the team sheet, you look at the elements at play, there was no Bruno Fernandes, there was no Marcus Rashford, you look at the central defensive partnership of Casemiro, a makeshift defensive midfielder, partnering a 36-year-old Johnny Evans. He felt that, I mean, if there was ever an opportunity for Arsenal to hit Manchester United, probably not just go beyond the 3 points, but get the 3 points and then rub a lot of salt into their injuries, it was going to be today. But on the contrary, judging by what I saw, I think that Erik ten Hag got his tactics spot on.
Yeah.
And I think that for those who watched the game, probably with a bit of a technical eye, it was down to the resilience of the Arsenal defense. And probably we do not need to overstate that fact that losing Saliba at the business end of the season last season really cost Arsenal some terrible points in there. You look at Saliba this evening. You look at Saliba all season. He's one of the 2 players, outfield players in the league to play every single minute across the whole of the matches in the Premier League this season. And so you look at some of the tackles that he made. I remember one on Garnacho, when Garnacho was put through. But I think that it was down to the resilience of the Arsenal defense. Arsenal did not really play too well. Manchester United obviously lacked a lot of creativity and firepower up front, but I think that it was just a game of swinging pendulums. And for me, Arsenal, the fact that they did not really get the second goal left them open to so many possibilities that could happen in the end. And if Manchester United have been that creative team, have been that powerful team up front, probably they could have let Arsenal pay for some of the lapses that was evident in their game. But like you said, I mean, I think this will be the fifth time in the Premier League era in the Premier League exactly in the Premier League era that the title gets to be decided on the final day of the season. And the bad luck for Arsenal fans is that on all four occasions that the title has been decided on the final day, City has won the league. Will it be a break in omen for Arsenal? Will Arsenal probably break that jinx and go ahead and win the league on the final day? I think that listen, probably not to swear a bit. I watched City yesterday. A lot of people felt that this was one game against Fulham at Craven Cottage that probably will put a bit of a dent in their match towards winning that unprecedented fourth league title. But you look at City yesterday, they were absolutely majestic, and they had the arrogance of champions. I mean, I look at City yesterday, and then I look at Arsenal today. I think that the difference between the two teams fighting for the title has to be the arrogance and the self-confidence of City. I mean, listen, hypothetically, if you have put City in this position Arsenal were in today, I'm sure they would have hammered, with the sort of team Manchester United put out there tonight, they would have hammered Manchester United by 5-0, let you know that there's no life in you. But Arsenal kept giving Manchester United the hope that there could be life in them, kept giving them the hope, and even Manchester United probably were a bit prolific up front. They would have gotten some points in there. But I look at City yesterday against Fulham, absolutely majestic. I mean, I've looked at Tottenham. A lot of people have said will be the ultimate kingmakers. I've looked at Tottenham across the weeks. Yes, yesterday they had to beat Burnley by 2-1, sending Burnley on relegation. But I've looked at Tottenham over the last 3-4 weeks. I've looked at City. City are playing with arrogance and petulance. You understand? And I think that will probably work it out for them. I am sorry to say, but it may go on the fifth day of the final day, and it doesn't look like City are going to relinquish their hands on the title.
I think I agree with you, basically with everything that you've said. That game against Spurs Tuesday evening, people think that might be the Achilles heel, for Manchester City. Though, even if they lose that game, they still have a chance, at winning the game, because if Arsenal do anything but win the game against Everton on Sunday, and City go ahead to beat West Ham, City will still win the league. But like you said, I've watched Spurs in the last 2 months. They've not been the Spurs that at the start of the season, from August, September, October, even November, were leading the league table at some point. We're playing with a lot of, confidence.
Exactly.
They played very well.
They were playing very well.
It was yesterday's win was, about 5 games.
Exactly.
They had lost continually. Exactly. They lost against Liverpool. They had been losing. They have not been playing well. And even though they played against Burnley, a team that I think that have been everybody's, batter, and you should even slice between them. They struggled. You have to take them coming from a goal down. So I do not think that Spurs will be that team that would, derail Manchester City. Though yes, in the Premier League, City are yet to win a single game at the Spurs Tottenham Stadium. Though this season they beat them in the FA Cup and 0-0 at the same stadium. But I think that this is the opportune time for Manchester City to break that hoodoo they have Spurs have over them in the Premier League, because one, Spurs are not playing well. Two, like you said, City are playing like champions. And I listened to players speak, I listened to Pep Guardiola speak, and they've been there before since 2018. They've been doing it, back to back, against. They've been going toe to toe with Liverpool, and they've shown their character in the last 20 games. They've just dropped They've just dropped 4 points in their last 20 games. They've won 16 of them and drawn just 4. In their last 6 games, they are yet to lose, and they've been scoring for fun, not less than 3 goals per game.
Let me ask you a
That's
question.
outrageous.
Something that's really bothered my mind a bit, and it is the fact that it is a question that I think needs a lot of answering.
Okay.
Is the Premier League really overrated? Because listen, I've
Well,
looked at this.
maybe
No,
we the guys could join us.
Yes,
in
I
the
mean,
discussion.
I've been asking myself that question. Yes, I mean,
Is it-
you could talk about the packaging, you could talk about all of the other elements that makes it attractive to the neutrals. But I've looked at this City team. I think that in another jurisdiction, they shouldn't be league champions.
Are you sure?
But there again, I look at the other proponents. I mean, the other people who probably could likely challenge City for the league title. Is it a Premier League that we only have Arsenal fighting City for the? I mean, Liverpool gave it a fight. You understand? But obviously, I mean, like we've said time without number, you cannot win the league with Darwin Núñez leading the lines. You understand? I look at the dynamics of everything playing out this season, and I think that probably in another jurisdiction, because I look at this City team.
Is the Premier League overrated?
Well, probably our listeners and viewers will probably have to
guys,
answer
before Kofi, he will definitely have his take on this. But what do you think? Kofi has just thrown in different dynamics. Is the Premier League really overrated? Are we overstating the competitiveness of the Premier League? Are we making a much ado about nothing? Are we really blowing it out of proportion? Is the most competitive league? As for excitement, it is the most exciting league across Europe. I watch the La Liga. La Liga is not exciting. Even with the football terms, there's nothing really exciting when you are watching Getafe, you are watching Las Palmas. I've watched games between Burnley and Brentford, and you could see that excitement in there. You spoke about packaging, but guys, let us know your take on this. Is the Premier League overrated?
Yeah, maybe you would probably want to stretch it beyond the confines of the Premier League. Okay. I think that, honestly, I mean, pushing in this question, I throw my head around everywhere else in Europe. Where is the competition?
So let's look beyond what's happening in Europe. Let's look at the Premier League.
Let's look at the La Liga. Where's the competition? Let's look at the French league. Where's the competition? Let's look at, probably football is at a still stage right now.
But I think that if you look at the Italian Serie A, yes, though Inter Milan have won it, but there's a lot of from the second position to the fifth position. There's lots of competition.
I get you. But I think that the Italian league, the shining star has been Bologna. You understand? I mean,
Thiago Motta
has been able to transform Bologna, and he's getting the flames up.
Let's look at that. You see, you're running around. Is the Premier League overrated? And I'll give you this premise. Just this season, prior to the quarterfinals, the Premier League had close to about 3 teams in the Conference League. They had about 2 to 3 teams in the Europa League. They had about, I think, 3 teams or so. No, they had 2 teams in the Champions League. They fell out for City, it's understanding, they've fallen out to the arguably the greatest team in the history of the Champions League. Arsenal fell out to Bayern Munich, the team that Bayern Leverkusen paid to it. You had Atalanta beating Liverpool. I mean, the manner with which Atalanta eliminated Liverpool is something that probably we need to consult the oracles to find out what happened in that game. You saw Aston Villa bow out to a team like Olympiacos. Terrible. Yeah. Very terrible. West Ham and the like. And so, you look at all these, elements at play. Teams that are not really highly rated. Olympiacos, they play in a Greek league that nobody even cares about. You look at teams that literally have walked over English Premier League sides that apparently at the time that the English sides are on the apex of world football now, should we still consider the league the most strongest league in the world?
Well, I think that for the answering of that question, UEFA has provided answers. There's a
coefficient.
yes, there's a UEFA coefficient.
If that's the case, then the English league is the strongest.
Well,
they are
no,
by the rankings. The
exactly.
English Premier League is not on top.
Exactly. I mean, but there again, you need to realize that the coefficient is an accumulation of the performances of the teams across the years. You understand? And I think that when it comes to the Champions League particularly, obviously if you have Real Madrid in your corner, that's 60% of the job done. You get it? I think Real Madrid is bigger than the Liga. I mean, listen, I mean, I do not know how I can put it anyhow. Anyway,
we'll
I think that Real Madrid is bigger than the La Liga. Everything that the La Liga stands for. In fact, if Real Madrid were to detach itself from the La Liga, I think you'll be left with a lot of hollowness.
As we speak, based on the coefficient, so there's the Italian Serie A,
exactly.
There's the German Bundesliga,
exactly.
There's the Spanish La Liga, there's the English Premier League, and there's the Spanish La Liga.
Obviously,
there's a reason
the
Germany
Italians
and
Spain
the
Germans are getting an extra slot. Exactly. So I look at the league now, the Premier League now, and I think that I will not fault anybody who thinks that the Premier League is a bit overrated at this material time. And I'll give you two reasons.
Okay.
In another jurisdiction, in another world, this City team is not too splendid.
You don't need to be splendid.
No, you need to be. No. The point is simple. That nobody has been able to stand toe to toe with this City team leaves me amazed. That's the point. That's exactly the point. Because, listen, Arsenal looked at their team in the off-season. Last season, they challenged City for the league trophy.
Yeah.
They realized that, they were a bit lightweight in midfield, in the sense that when Thomas Partey got injured, there was nobody in there. So they had to dish out over £100 million for Declan Rice. Declan Rice comes in with a reputation from West Ham, having been European champions. I think that they won the Conference League, right?
Yeah.
They won the Conference League. Comes in, and then they realize that, there's somebody up front that we need to fix. I mean, they did not really go for your out-and-out number 9. But they realize that when you have a personality like Kai Havertz in the team, he is a guy for the big stages. He's a man who shows up on the biggest of stages. So what Arsenal essentially did was that they looked at the quality of their team, juxtaposed it with the quality that City brings to the table, and then tried to create a super team of their own that would match the team of City all throughout the course of the season. You understand? And I think that, I mean, fair play to Arsenal. They have challenged very well. They have played very well. But nobody gives a hoot about who played very well, who challenged very well. I think a fair play to Arsenal. They've given a good fight. But I think that with the sort of investments that was done by Arsenal, with the sort of recruitment that was done, with the vision that they have, we should be talking about an evenly balance. I mean, in another jurisdiction, Arsenal should not be losing against Aston Villa. In another jurisdiction, Arsenal should not be dropping points. When I was listening to, I was watching the game and then listening to the BBC commentary also. And then the commentator kept pointing out the fact that the draw that they had at the Etihad will it come back to haunt them. He didn't even talk about the Aston Villa game. That if you looked at the game, if you looked at the game at the Etihad, that was a game Arsenal should have gone for.
And they could have won that.
They should have won the game. You look at the chances they missed. And so the commentator kept pointing to that epic moment that will that draw at the Etihad come back to haunt Arsenal? And I think that, these are the dynamics. And number 2, as it stays now, in the foreseeable future, I do not see anybody standing up against Pep Guardiola in the City team.
I've made that statement.
We've talked extensively about the fact that the English league is competitive, is whatever, is the topmost when it comes to, and yes, the facts bear us right, you understand? But the point is that it's competitive, all right. But then there's somebody up that hierarchy who is heads above shoulders everybody.
So it's like,
and it doesn't look like they are going to stop. I mean, you look at the dynasties that have been created in the context of the Premier League right now. With Jurgen Klopp leaving, Pep Guardiola becomes the longest serving manager. He knows the nuances of the league. He knows all of the ins and outs of the league. And then they don't look like stopping in terms of spending. You understand? So I ask myself, I mean, really? Will Pep Guardiola win the league with City if he was in the Spanish La Liga? Would he win the league with City if he was in the Serie A? Maybe he would have won the league with City if he was in the French league.
But then, Kofi, you make this argument of Arsenal losing to Aston Villa and the likes. We've seen countless times that Barcelona, even at their apex, were beaten by low teams. I mean, those things happen in football. Real Madrid, even this season, at some point lost at home to the likes of Mallorca, Las Palmas.
I get the point.
So I think that if you use that as a premise to say the league is not competitive, I think it would be unfair because
I get the point
these
you're
things
making.
happen.
I get the point you're making. No, I get the point you're making. But then we are talking about what is supposed to be the best league in the world. You understand? The most competitive league in the world. I am saying that the teams that are going full throttle with the heirs apparent of the league, I mean City, I expect that the teams that are going with that kind of competitiveness in the business end of the season.
So, Kofi, in the La Liga, the last 12 seasons, Barcelona have won 6 times. Real Madrid have won 4 times. Actually, Barcelona have won 7 times. Real Madrid have won 4 times. And the only time somebody has broken into is Atletico Madrid. So, even in the league where we talk about Real Madrid.
No, but I don't think honestly,
it's been said between Barcelona and Real Madrid. So these things happen everywhere.
No, the dynamics.
It happens everywhere.
The dynamics of the La Liga. The dynamics of the La Liga.
It was not even Barcelona. Right? It was Barcelona because they had won 7
No, but
times.
the point is simple. When we start the league in Spain, you can only count 2 teams. At most, 3 teams that can win the league.
We can also say same for the English Premier League.
But the point is that in the English Premier League, if Chelsea have put their house in order, if Manchester United have put their house in order, if Liverpool are on the upward trajectory, you can say that confidently there will be 5 teams fighting for the league. There could be City, there could be Arsenal, there could be Liverpool, there could be Manchester United, there will be Chelsea.
Answer this question. There has never been a time at the point where I started watching the English Premier League, where you've had 4 teams putting their house in order. It's always a maximum of about 2 or 3 teams, bare minimum. So at the point of, say, Alex Ferguson, it was Arsenal, Manchester United. Would you agree? Then at some point, Ferguson faded off. Then it was Manchester United, Chelsea. That Mourinho went toe-to-toe for 3 years with Alex Ferguson. Then he faded off. A new coach will come in, goes toe-to-toe with Alex Ferguson. He gets sacked and all of that. So even at the pomp of the Premier League, there's never even been 3 teams. It's always been those 2 teams that have been going at each other. And you bear record to that. So there is nothing wrong with having a situation where it's City Liverpool, it's City Arsenal, because in the last 8 years it's been City Liverpool. Though technically it's not been competitive enough because Liverpool have just won it once and City have just been doing it. But it looks like Arsenal are taking the place of Liverpool, especially with the change in management, the change in hierarchy at Liverpool. I think that it will take them some time before they get back in there. But till then, let's not talk about United, because I think United have about 2 seasons body of work to do. Chelsea likewise have about 2 seasons body of work to do. So it looks like in the next 2-3 seasons, it's going to be Manchester City and Arsenal going at each other. And that is what happens everywhere in the German Bundesliga. It's either Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, another team. In the Serie A, it's either Juventus, Inter. just this ended season was Juventus, Napoli. Last season was it was Inter Milan, Napoli, Inter Milan, Juventus. Last season, Napoli, Inter Milan. So it's been always like that. So if you say if teams put their house in order, we could have about four teams going at each other. That's never been the case.
Well, I think that you are choosing to dwell so much on the nitty-gritty, but I mean, but the point is simple. I think that yes, teams fade off at a point. So would you say that the Premier League is not overrated?
Okay, guys. So before I read your comment, I've seen lots of comments from the Facebook page. But guys, is the Premier League overrated? Those watching us on YouTube as well, this is the poll. This is the question. If you think the Premier League is overrated, tell us yes or no and give us your reasons. Is the Premier League overrated? I do not think the Premier League is overrated. I think that the Premier League, matches the hype. Listen, over the years, we've seen, Kofi, you will agree with me, in the last 5 seasons, it's been either the Premier League and another league, even in Europe, going at each other. It's either it's Chelsea, it's either it's City, either it's Liverpool taking on Real Madrid, Chelsea taking on Manchester City, Liverpool taking on this. So the Premier League, even in Europe, has always been there. It's always there, matching supposedly the best league at some point in the time, the La Liga. So you cannot say or conclude because the Premier League maybe has lost a certain element in it, you would easily say that the Premier League is not competitive. Like I told you, in Europe, they've been there in the last 6, 7, 5. You can start however you want it, but the Premier League has always been there. Let's even stretch it further. 5 seasons ago, it was the Premier League against. Let's go back. Let's go back to 2010. Barcelona. Let's even go back to 29. Barcelona, Manchester United. The following season, there was a Premier League team in there. The following season, there was a Premier League team there. The following season, there was a Premier League team there. It's always been a Premier League team up until Bayern Munich, PSG broke that voodoo. Is it in 2020? Yet the Premier League comes back again. So you can argue all you want, but I think that the Premier League is not as overrated as some people want us to believe. Yes, they have their own flaws, but I think that the Premier League is competitive. The Premier League is well packaged. The Premier League is the most exciting league. But hey guys, we want to know what you think in relation to the Premier League. I'll take Kofi's final comment on what is going to happen on Sunday, because when we come here on Sunday, we are coming to crown the league champions. Kofi, you're going to be conclusive what is going to happen. But let me take some comments that have come in from our Facebook page. United have been terrible. This is from Jurgen Klopp forever. Richmond Delaju says that Asiedu, I said it, Arsenal will score us. Were you really thinking that United could win this game?
Well, I think I was thinking that United could nip it. I mean, based on the record.
Richmond Senses comes back to say the Arsenal defense did well. Yes, Saliba is really key for them. I said, tell your team to fix the Old Trafford. Also, officiating has been very terrible. City always getting away with decisions that almost all the other competitors will suffer from. I think that's a subject for a discussion on another day. But Kofi, yep. Sunday, I don't want us to look at what happened on Tuesday, because no matter what happens on Tuesday, it will still go down to what happens on Sunday. Sunday, who wins it? Arsenal at home against Everton. So Sean Dyche in the last 5, 6, I think after the decision came out, for some reason, Everton have been on fire. Yeah. Everton together with Bournemouth, they've been, two teams that have been very surprised. Could Everton just derail Arsenal's chances of winning the Premier League? What happens on Sunday?
Well, like you said, I mean, whatever happens on Tuesday
it's mathematically inconsequential to what happens on Sunday.
Yes, I mean, it could strengthen the hand of City or otherwise. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what could happen, because as it stands now, Arsenal have played a game more. They've played 37 games. They have scored 89 goals, have the best defense in the league. They've conceded only 28 goals and have 86 points. City have played 36 games. They have They've scored more goals
They've
than
actually
Arsenal.
scored
They've
91.
91 goals and conceded 33.
So what happens in the Premier League is, if eventually it ends up the two teams accumulating the same number of points, the first thing they look at is the goals that you have scored.
Yeah.
So eventually, if it happens that City maintain that high scoring on the day, and if it happens for some reason they end up on the same point, they're not going to look necessarily at the goal difference that Arsenal have. It's the goals that you have scored that will put City ahead of Arsenal. So it looks like even on that day, a lot needs to happen.
Exactly, and so hypothetically, we are talking fine margins.
Yeah.
Assuming City go to the new Spurs Stadium and then get a point, we could be talking about they being on the same point as Arsenal going into the final day. Probably Arsenal having a slightly better goal difference of +1. And so everything goes down to the final day. What happens on the final day? I think that nothing will happen on the final day.
Are you sure?
I don't think that anything will happen on the final day. I think that City are going to win their 4th consecutive league title. I do not see how Tottenham are going to stop City. The worst case scenario for City will be going there and getting a draw. And they getting a draw, they know that they have their own destiny in their hands. I mean, they are playing at the Etihad on the final day of the season.
West Ham have not been good
exactly,
since the announcement of the departure of David Moyes.
David Moyes, I think that, listen, if West Ham were coming to the Etihad on the final day, and hypothetically, if City and Arsenal were level pegged in terms of the point accumulation, I think that City will feel very confident about their own ability. I mean, this is a team that can hit you for 4 or 5 at the Etihad. And so, knowing how close it is, I think that Arsenal have given it a good fight. I've been ringing this bell for the last 7, 6, 9, 10 weeks. I've told you that as good as Arsenal are playing, they won't win the league because of the naivety in the coaching department, because of the lack of temperament when it mattered most. I think that Arsenal will look back at this season when they do not win the league title. They will look at games this season. They will look at the City game at the Etihad. They will look at the Aston Villa game, how they were not able to get. I mean, if they had gotten points against Aston Villa, that would be another +3. You understand? I mean,
like if they had gotten
their
the points
destinies will be in their hands.
Against Aston Villa, I think that Arsenal would have won.
Exactly. I mean, so we are talking fine margins here. I think that based on experience, based on know-how, based on ability to negotiate curves and then difficult turns, I think that, I mean, the odds are heavily in favor of City going ahead and winning the league title. I think that 99% City will win the league title.
City will win the league title.
Will win the
Guys, what do you think will happen on the last day of the season? Just a week from today, the entire squad will be in the studios. We'll be joining in either the celebration or the sorrow of one particular team. In the end, those, like Kofi, is sitting on the fence. For him, whatever happens, which will hurt you the more? If City goes ahead to break Alex Ferguson's record that has stood for God knows how long, or if Arsenal win the league title, let's be honest, as a United fan, which will hurt the more?
Well, I'm not worried about City. Listen, I mean, skeptics could go ahead and say that he's broken Alex Ferguson. Records are meant to be broken. That's the point. I mean, I think that City are still, they are still our tiny brothers when it comes to their accumulation. Yes, they are on the rise. I think that they've grown in leaps and bounds under Pep Guardiola. This will be their 8th league title, right? I mean, if they win the league title, it will be their 8th league title. Exactly. I mean, I think that City are doing well. He can go ahead and break Alex Ferguson's record, but Arsenal is one subject matter we probably need. Arsenal has never defended a league title before.
Yep, that's true.
That's amazing. I didn't know. that Arsenal have not won a league and defended
And
it before.
even that invisible squad could not defend the league.
I am
they won in
amazed. I am
2000
amazed. I am
2004 season,
amazed. And that was the last time they won the league.
20 years ago.
Exactly. And so I
So it could be that Arsenal will be celebrating their 20th anniversary by winning the league this season. You know, the start of the season when we had our pre-season show, I actually predicted Arsenal going all the way to win the league. Kofi thought otherwise. He felt that City might just win the league. Percy thought that Liverpool will win the league. As for Liverpool, there, you know, we'll talk about them another time. But Kofi, it means it will hurt you the more if Arsenal win the league. It will hurt you the more. But guys, what do you think will happen on the last day of the season? Arsenal and City go toe-to-toe with each other for the league title to be crowned the 2023-2024 Premier League champions. Who would be? Is it Arsenal or City? Let us know your thoughts on what we've had, what we've been talking about so far. We've been looking at the Premier League running. We've been talking about one major question. Question has come up, and the question has been: is the Premier League overrated? Are we really overstating the quality or the competitiveness of the Premier League? Kofi believes that with what has happened the last few years, he thinks that we should tone down a little bit, and the Premier League is a little bit overrated. I do not believe so. But what do you think? Is the Premier League overrated? Let us know what you think. But Kofi, before we quickly talk about Real Madrid, I think that earlier in the course of this week, we saw the list of our possible awardees, or guys that will walk away with awards at the end of the season. But one thing that has become a little bit of a controversy is the Player of the Season award. So there's Virgil van Dijk in there, there's Saliba in there, there's no Saka, there's Phil Foden, there's Erling Haaland. Who else? I'll try and get you the names, but there's there is Declan Rice also in there. So these are and Oli Watkins, including Palmer. So there are about 8 guys on the list. So let me go through the list again. So there's Palmer, there's Oli Watkins, there's Declan Rice. Take notice of the names. There's Virgil van Dijk, there's William Saliba, there's Phil Foden, there's Erling Haaland in there. These are the guys on the list of Premier League Player of the Season. One thing that I've read around the commentary, everybody is asking, one, what in the name of God, Jesus Christ, of Allah, of whatever is Virgil van Dijk doing in there? And why is Rodri absent from this list? Because I don't want to, if I give you Rodri's numbers in relation to his presence when he's around for Manchester City and his absence when he's around, he's away from the team, and even if you compare him to Declan Rice, you wonder why he's missing from the list of the Premier League Player of the Season. But there is Virgil van Dijk. But hey, that's the opinion of others. But what do you make of the list, and who do you think is walking away?
Well, first
with
of all,
it
it reinforces the belief I've always had. The list is compiled by votes.
But why would Virgil van Dijk get votes more than?
But the point is that I stand to be corrected. I mean, just like people, no. I mean, sometimes I think that with most of these lists, it's votes by players themselves.
No, the list is actually this is not the PFA Player of the Year. This is the Premier League Player of the Year. Okay. So the fans would vote to get the final list out there.
Exactly.
Then the eventual winners.
Exactly. So I mean, once you have external forces coming in, and then you have other elements coming into play, you leave the common sense of football out, or you throw it out of the window. Like you said, I think that everybody else on that list deserves to be there. I'll tell you why they deserve to be there. I think that Van Dijk does not deserve to be there. They do not have the best defense in the league. And if you look at Arsenal, we talked about the importance of Saliba. We talked about the fact that he's one of the 2 outfield players.
He is one of the reasons why
they have
Arsenal
they have the best defense in the league, and rightly so, he has to be there. Van Dijk, I think that by now you should know that he has to be by popular choice. You understand?
Oli Watkins.
Oli Watkins has been absolutely phenomenal for Aston Villa this season. I
goals,
think that you look at the goals and the relevance of the goals to the team and the context of the team. Aston Villa are in pole position to qualify for the Champions League, and for a team of Aston Villa's stature, yes, they are European League champions, Champions League winners in the past, but you look at their stature now, I think that is quite a mighty achievement. It's harking to them winning the Premier League title.
From where Unai Emery took them,
I think he's done a splendid job. He's done a splendid job. He's done a splendid job with Aston Villa.
So Oli Watkins
Cole Palmer has been absolutely phenomenal. He took a leap of faith forward. I mean, how many players would walk away from the City entity?
Because Pep wanted him to stay.
Exactly. How many players would want to walk away from the City entity, venture into the unknown, venture, as a lot of people will say, into the chaos around Chelsea now? You look at what is happening at Chelsea now, and you look at the fact that he's been one of the stand-alone figures of extreme quality. You look at his goals, you look at his assists.
Others will also say
31 goal contributions, 21 goals, 10 assists.
Close about double-figure penalties. I mean,
no, but the point is that no penalty is a given. I do not buy into that school of thought. There is no penalty. That go and ask your Mensah. You understand? Go and ask your friend Asamoah Gyan. When he stood on the cusp of history to let Ghana be the first team that qualifies, the first team from Africa that qualifies to the.
Exactly. So
Cole Palmer deserves to be there. I look at Declan Rice. Listen. You could make all of the arguments you want to make about Rodri and how he's relevant to the team. Listen. The day Declan Rice was signed was the day they closed the gap on City.
Okay.
Because you look at Declan Rice and the job he does in the middle, the kind of influence he has on that Arsenal team, the kind of efficiency he brings to the midfield, and his overbearing, towering presence. I think that Declan Rice has been phenomenal. Yes, there are not so many good defensive midfielders like Rodri in the game today, you understand, but you cannot discount the efforts of Declan Rice.
So Declan Rice's numbers this season,
I think that Haaland shouldn't have been there.
49 games, 7 goals, 10 assists in the Premier League.
Impressive.
In terms of Arsenal, the entire
10
assists.
That's quite impressive.
That's quite impressive. And Rodri on the other hand, so 49 games, 7 goals, 10 assists for Declan Rice. Rodri on the other hand, 46 games, 8 goals, 14 assists.
Well, for me, I think
Rodri's absence.
anytime Rodri has played in the Premier League, City have never lost a game.
They've been actually 72 games.
Exactly.
Counting the longest run in the Premier
I mean, anytime he's played, if you look at City and their troubles early this season,
it was because he was out of the team.
It was because he was out of the team. I mean, I remember the time that he was out suspended. They had to lose 2 or 3 games on the trot.
3 games.
Exactly. So
that was what caused them to fall
exactly.
back.
You cannot discount the importance
of.
Is it
PR? Because he's a quiet guy that gets the job done. Can the issue of PR, because people rarely talk about Rodri in terms of if Rodri was playing for Liverpool, trust me, or United. United are arguably the biggest club in England. If Rodri was a United player and he was putting up this performance, I bet you.
No, but the point is simple. The point is simple. I'm sure that when it came down to the voting, there are so many alpha males in that City team. You get the point. So it's difficult to let a player stand alone. You understand? Because you look at that City. You look at that City team. I mean, the first name that comes to your mind probably has to be Kevin De Bruyne when he's fit. You understand? Then you look at other elements. You look at Phil Foden.
You look that he's missed.
Exactly. You look
14 assists this season.
Fantastic. You look at Phil Foden. You look at Erling Haaland. You look at the goalkeeping department. You look at the centre backs. You look at Kyle Walker. So there are too many
performances Vardy is putting.
Look at him yesterday. There are too many alpha males, and so I think that it could probably come to your point about who is very flamboyant and who is not too flamboyant.
I agree with you on that bit because imagine you have Rodri, Foden, Haaland. The votes would have to be shared among these three, and probably Foden, Haaland would allow, or they are more of alpha males than Rodri, so Rodri might not get the needed votes to put him in.
Exactly the
I
point.
agree with you. So okay, so not necessarily that he shouldn't be there, but based on the element of the dynamics of the vote
Of the team,
Phil Foden.
Fantastic. For me, he will be the player of the season.
Who wins it? Okay, let's since you've already said, why do you think Phil Foden deserves the
I
player
think
of the
that
season?
he's been amazing. He is an example to every young English player out there. You know, when I look at Phil Foden, I'm too saddened for somebody like Mason Greenwood, because in terms of intellect, in terms of ability, I think that they are not too far apart. But it boils down to discipline. It boils down to attitude. It boils down to the ability of the young player to abide by the rules of the coaching staff. Phil Foden is who he is today because he's succumbed himself, or he's allowed himself to kowtow to the rules and the principles of Pep Guardiola. You can say that he's a making of Pep Guardiola. Yes, he's always been a brilliant player coming through the ranks of the City academy. You understand? But how many times haven't we heard stories about players who were brilliant at the young ages? Look at somebody like Ravel Morrison of Manchester United. Look at even my good friend Paul Pogba. Look at Mason Greenwood. So the fact that you are exactly, so that I don't want to talk about that boy on this show. The fact that you are talented, it's not a given that you get to the top.
And the fact that he's stuck with City, fought for a position at a time when that City team is.
You look at
other players would have walked away like Cole Palmer decided to just walk away.
You look at Phil Foden at City.
He's undroppable.
He's undroppable. You look at him at 23. He's won every trophy. He's just 23. I mean, that's what makes it scary. He's won every trophy possible at the club side with City at 23.
Well,
he's got over 100 goals. Yes, he's won at the club side. He's won it. I mean, listen. He scored over 100 goals for City at 23.
That's incredible.
And then you look at him this season. You look at games I remember a game against Everton. You understand? I mean, when Everton had to score the first goal, then he gets a hat trick. You understand? You look at. I think that he is to City what my friend at Chelsea now, Sterling was to City
at some point.
At some point, maybe in the second round of winning their league, he always showed up.
2019.
Exactly, he always showed up at the dying embers when they needed, when the clarion call came calling.
So Phil Foden wins it for you.
Well, I think that there's not been any player better than Phil Foden.
So if Phil Foden is winning the player of the season, then it means eventually he win the young player of the season.
He wins.
He's in that same category with the likes of Kobe Menu, Cole Palmer. I'm struggling why Saka was out of that list because I think that Bukayo Saka has been so crucial and integral to the course of Arsenal this season. They all belong to
forgive me, but I think that Bukayo Saka is a player who is depreciating.
You think so?
Anytime I look at him, there's nothing progress about him.
Okay.
Honestly,
because I just wanted to focus on the player of the season. You think that?
But I think that in a perfect world, Foden sweeps away all of the individual accolades.
So if Foden does not win it, who should be the next in line to win the player of the season?
If Foden does not win
Declan Rice. And I forgot there's Martin Odegaard as well.
Yes, I mean if Foden does not win it, I think that he has to go to Declan Rice.
Declan Rice.
He's been amazing.
For some reason, I agree with Kofi on most of the things that he talked about. Whoa, time really flies when you're having so much fun. Let me take some comments that are coming in. From somebody has sent me a DM saying that why didn't you talk about basketball? So there's just 1 hour to literally talk about everything sports in the course of the week. Don't worry. Next week, I'm sure by next week, most of the teams will be advancing to the final because I have a feeling that the Timberwolves might just do one over the
Well, you know, the
Nuggets.
funny thing is that the Timberwolves walked to the home of the defending champions. Did them 2-0, and the Nuggets have come back to the home of the. Yes, 2 days ago. I think they get to play tonight again.
Yeah.
They came to the home of the Nuggets
And
and,
also
and
did them
the Timberwolves did them dirty. But
Mentality of champions.
I've looked at the two teams. I think that the Timberwolves are the total package in terms of defense, in terms of offense, in terms of the weapons available to them. You look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's no denying the fact that they have the best defense in the league. And then you look at the weapons. It's not just about.
Anthony.
It's not just about Anthony. No, it's not just about him. You understand? There was a Mike Conley.
Mike Conley.
Yes, I mean that's the name.
Another
Exactly.
dog
I mean,
in there.
you look at their team. You look at their roster. You look at the young boys.
Tim Hardaway.
Come on. I mean, Tim Hardaway is with the. I think that he's with the
Dallas
Mavericks.
I usually
Yes.
confuse the Dallas Mavericks with the Timberwolves.
So I look at the Timberwolves and I think that if there was any team that could take down the Denver Nuggets,
it's the Timberwolves. So you are tipping the Timberwolves
I am
to make
tipping
it to
them.
the
I
final.
am tipping them to make. In fact,
Who are they playing in the final?
Well, I think that they will get to meet OKC.
You think the OKC will beat?
Yeah.
You beat them. Will beat
Yeah.
the Mavericks over 6 or 7 games.
Mavericks have taken a 2-1 lead over the OKC. Down,
and they still have a game to play.
Exactly. I think it's been down to the brilliance of Kyrie and then Luka Doncic. But I look at OKC. I look at their approach.
How do you pronounce SGA's name? Shai something Alexandra.
He's Canadian. I mean, Shigerson. Brilliant. I mean, some people have called him a free throw merchant, but I think he's one of the players who in the league who have improved their overall gameplay. He's not just an elite
and
scorer.
together with Chet, Holmgren, is that his name?
Yes.
Chet Holmgren.
Yes.
They've been brilliant.
I think that I look at the NBA today, and I think that when the likes of the LeBron Jameses, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, when they walk away, the NBA is still in safe hands. I mean, you look at Jason Tatum, you look at Luka Doncic, you look at the Ant-Man, you look at even my good friends with the Atlanta Hawks.
Trae Young.
Yes, I mean,
and there's this guy with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Donovan Mitchell. And Halliburton. So there's a new generation coming up, and I think that for me, I'm happy for somebody like Anthony Edwards because he become a superstar when you walk into arenas and own it.
And I love his confidence and his cockiness.
Come on, I mean, listen, I watched an interview.
His cockiness reminds me of
amazing
MJ and Kobe.
You know,
great players are like that.
No, he did that MJ shimmy. You understand? I mean, I watched an interview at the beginning of the season with his coach to the ESPN staff. And then he made that bold pronouncement that in 3 years he will be the best player in the NBA.
And it looks like it's coming to pass.
It looks like the prophecy is coming to pass.
Exactly.
I look at all of these players and I think that, come on.
So we have just about 5 minutes left. Let's jump to the East. So the East is becoming a bit dicey. I think that one team that people are not really taking a closer look at, and again another DM says that the NBA draft lottery pick is also coming up this evening. The draft lottery pick is more or less, you're going to see the placement, who goes in as the number 1 draft pick, number 2 draft pick, first round pick, second round pick. Those who do not understand NBA, we understand you, we beg you. Maybe probably another time Kofi will get into it, but Kofi, who takes the first seed in the East, or who qualifies for the final in the East? Because I think it's between the Celtics and the New York Knicks. The Knicks have surprised me with Jalen Brunson and the guy with the Nigerian name, Anobli or something. These guys. But the Knicks have been. They've really surprised me.
Well, I think
I didn't think that they would be this good.
Well, I think a lot of people have not paid a lot of attention to the New York Knicks. Even my own old boy, Josh Hart.
Yeah.
You understand? He's become an integral member.
Part of the team.
He's rebounding very well. He's scoring points, very crucial 3-point player. And then he's making a lot of assists. I think that what the Knicks did was that they traded rights. You know,
That's what over the years they've not been doing.
You know, the Knicks had to trade some players to the Toronto Raptors. You understand? Some of those players, I've forgotten their name. It doesn't readily come to mind. But some of those names were fan favorites. You understand?
But for them to, you know, Jalen Brunson was with the Dallas Mavericks.
Exactly.
For them to get a player
you know, Jalen Brunson has an interesting story. You know, his dad is a coach. He's an NBA coach, and I think that his dad has a lot of affiliation to the New York Knicks.
Okay.
So when the time for the contract offer from the Dallas Mavericks came up, and then they were a bit dragging, he had to make that switch to the New York Knicks, and the New York Knicks has always been home to some of the best players in the NBA. I mean, you can list all of those players. Exactly. I mean, you can list all of those players.
This guy Houston,
even this guy who never made it, Derrick Rose. I mean, one of the most talented players who are really. So you look at the New York Knicks.
Celtics,
and then,
are we seeing a Celtic Knicks final?
Well, I think it looks very much like it. But
Celtic Knicks, who takes it? The Celtics are one of the most unpredictable team in. You expect Celtics to literally walk to the title and they'll just let you down with
but I think there's a lot of credit
Jason
in this.
Tatum has been terrible for me this play.
No, but yesterday he came to light. I mean, together
he's
with
not been consistent. That's the thing with the Celtics.
No, you know, yesterday together with Jaylen Brown, yesterday he gave a frank interview, and I think that everybody should go back and watch that interview. The question was that, why does he get to be picked on by the media?
What does he do wrong?
Exactly. I mean, and his response was simple, that he understands the relevance of the people who sit behind the microphone, and that he knows their relevance in growing the game, all right. But first of all, he is accountable to himself. You understand? I think that everybody expects Jason Tatum to move to the next level.
To be up there in the
because he is a talented player, very talented player.
I don't like I don't like him talking about the Celtics. It's Kendrick Perkins. This guy, for crying out loud, you couldn't play basketball for to save your life. Yet you have the audacity to criticize guys. But guys, this has been our show for today. We spoke about it. We wanted to concentrate on the English.
We didn't even get to talk about the Champions League
and how we still have the opportunity to talk about them because the final against Borussia Dortmund is coming up. Somebody says that game should not be played. You know, they shouldn't play that game because
it'll be
Real Madrid will walk over them. But we spoke about the Premier League and the running. Next week Sunday is the final day of the season. Who wins it? Personally, I do not know. Kofi believes that Arsenal will walk away with the title. The City will walk away with the title. Maybe me saying Arsenal means Arsenal winning the title. But we just brought you a little bit about the NBA. This has been Sports Roundup. We are live every Sunday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. both on Facebook and on YouTube channel Sport 101. If you have not subscribed yet, subscribe to the two channels, like our videos, make sure you engage us with us in the comment section. And hey, we are here for you. Today I did the show with Kofi Asiedu. Percy is doing some production, be somewhere, so don't worry. Next week we'll be certain that the entire house will be here when we crown the league champions. Kofi says it's City. My head and heart says it is City because of my love for Pep. But something tells me that Arsenal might just do the do. But let's see what happens. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening.